So I'm going to run through the rigging process in Max very simply using biped and the space mesh. So let's get going. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a biped and position him over this figure. So first thing you need to do is to make sure that we can't select and move this figure, because that's annoying. So we're going to make him in the display panel over here. We're going to make him see-through, and then over here in the mesh we're going to set that to frozen. Now we can't select him, but we can see him. Then we're going to the front view here. We're going to go over to our create panel, and we're going to click on that button, and we're going to choose biped. Then we can drag up from the floor and create our biped like that. Then I want to position the biped over my skeleton. So we need to go into the motions panel over here. And there's a couple of things you need to know about biped. Firstly, it has an animation mode and a skeleton placement mode. Skeleton placement mode is called the figure mode. And we get to the figure mode by pressing this button here. Once we're in figure mode, we can select the elements and move them around, and they will stay there. If we're out of figure mode, if we move something like that, you see it snaps back, and that's not used as the skeleton in the space pose. It's used for animation. So the first thing we need to do is place the pivot. So I can get to the pivot by choosing the track selection modifier down here, and I'm just going to drag him into place like this. And I can even right click on that, and let's just place him precisely like this. Okay, close that. Now he's a bit big, so let's adjust his height. So making sure that I have figure mode on, you can see down here there's this thing called structure, and then I can set the height of the figure. So I'm just going to dial this down to, I think it's like 1.8, maybe a bit less. There we go, 1.75 will do. And then let's move him across into place. So I want to align all the stuff with the hip joints, and it's just a teensy wincy bit high, so I'm just going to dial it down ever so slightly to there. So that's a height of 1.725. Then I can place the hip joints. So the way you move stuff around on the biped is when you're in figure mode, you just use tend to use the scale and positioning gizmo. So let's just grab the scale gizmo here, and let's just widen the hips so that these legs are roughly in the center of volume. And I can grab this leg here, I'm going to use the rotate tool, and I want to get so the legs are slightly splayed, you can see by the feet position, so I just want to duplicate that angle of splay ever so slightly so the knees are pointing ever so slightly outwards. And then we can just position our ankle joint somewhat like that. And then I can select the foot, the green foot, and just drag it back into place, something like that there. So now we've got our ankle joint, should be placed roughly there, in between these two elements like that. And our knee joint should be probably back a bit, a little bit back. So we're going to need to shorten the length of that, I think. So I can do that with the rubber band mode. So what I'm going to do is I want to adjust this position. So I select the rubber band node, and this will allow me to adjust the knee position. So I can just drag that into place there. And probably I want to adjust the angle in the foreground as well. So let's just drag it into place just like that. Cool. Then I'll turn off rubber band mode, and I'll just place my foot, and then I'm going to rotate that into place just there, like that. So now what I can do is I can mirror all that bone information across to the other leg, and I'm going to do this by using the copy paste tool. So let's grab that if I double click on the thigh there on the green bone, I can copy and paste, create a collection, copy a pose, and that's grab the leg now, so it's posture we want. And then we are going to use that button there, which is paste posture to opposite, like that. Ding, and that puts our leg in place. So now we can do the same for our arms. So firstly we want to go, I mean it's important to go through this stuff in order, so the first thing to do is place our shoulder joints at roughly the right height, which by coincidence they already are. So there's a lot of different opinions on where you should place these bones. So there's an argument that you should definitely place them right on the joints. So our actual shoulder joint is quite high, it's like in there somewhere. There's also an argument that you should place them in the centre of volume, which would be slightly lower, sort of down there. So I'm going to kind of choose a happy compromise and not get too worried about it. So we've got roughly the right height, maybe slightly too high. It's dragging down ever so slightly. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting, all these spine bones like this, and scaling up and down to place the position of the shoulder bones vertically first, like that. And then I want to place this joint roughly over there in the slice of the armpit. So let's now grab the clavicle and I'll just scale him out. Oh, you see I've double clicked, so I've selected everything. Let's do that again. Just grab the clavicle, scale that out. Now again, the clavicle bone will actually hinge from about there, and the shoulder blade will kind of glide over the top of the rib cage, and I think that is a little harsh for the kind of things we're trying to achieve, and really we want to get it more in the centre of volume, which is kind of there, and just rotate it back ever so slightly. So this is not the correct anatomical position of this bone, but it will work for a simple rig without having to do a lot of extra skinning around the back to make sure everything doesn't fly apart. So that looks okay, and then we can go through and we can place our joints. So again, I need to just move that elbow down a bit. So select R for the scale tool, push the elbow down. Sometimes it helps if I put the wire mesh on, so there you can see the elbow joint's about there. Just turn off the grid. So it's kind of good to place the wrist and the shoulder at the same time, and then go back and hit the elbow. Now maybe that when you've been modelling you've got this line wrong, in which case you're going to have to do some adjustments to your mesh. If you get this little triangle of elbow, shoulder and wrist in the wrong kind of plane, then things will go slightly awry when you try and twist things down here. So it's maybe worth checking that as soon as possible when you're doing your modelling process. So let's use our rubber band tool again. So rubber band, so I click on the parent bone of the joint I want to adjust, which is a little bit confusing. Now I can tweak that forward, turn off again, and then I can probably use that. So let's scale that into place, rotate it. So it's good to know your manipulate mode shortcuts. So we've got W for move, E for rotate, and R for scale. That. So we do have IK on here, so I can go like this. I can just try and place my wrist bone like that, and like that, and then I can go back into here and place the elbow using the rubber band mode again. So I select the parent joint, and then rather frustratingly I move back like that, and down a bit. So that's pretty good, I think. And if I want to move the wrist bone, I can do the same, select the parent joint, just drag it back. And this will rescale things like this, as you can see, which is quite helpful. So it's important to turn off rubber band mode when you're finished. And I'm almost there. I'm not going to rig fingers, but I will place the hand bone into place, sort of in the right plane like that. And there we go, cool. So now I can go back and copy this posture. So double click on the clavicle bone, and we're going to use this button, which is copy posture, and then we're going to paste posture to opposite like that. Right, almost there. And then the last thing to do is to place at the neck. So again, our neck actually arches kind of around through like that kind of line, but we're going to try and place it in the center of volume. So let's press W to place the neck. Thinking. Another option is to bring this all back. So let's just have a look at that. So I could bring the spine back ever so slightly, because obviously our spine is kind of rooted down here and does a little arc like that. So maybe the thing to do is just tweak him back ever so slightly like that. Then we can move our clavicles forward to place those joints again. And that gives our neck a little bit of a better starting point like that. So it's good maybe to have 2 neck joints, I think. So we're going to go down here into structure, and this is where we mess with the number of links we want. And I'm going to add another neck link like this there, and then place that like that. So this is just the bone. And this is quite important, because the temptation is to place it as though it was a head, but it is just the bone even though it looks like a head. So really just want to make sure that you get your joints in the right place and not struggle to kind of place this properly as though were a bit of mesh. So let's concentrate on these neck bones. So actually our rib cage is going to kind of end slightly higher than this, so what I can do is I can move that base, those neck bones up a bit, like that, because we're really not interested in any kind of rotation below that point. And that places our top neck bone just at the base of the skull, which is about there. And maybe the thing to do is rotate it forward ever so slightly, so like that. And that's going to place our joint just behind the ear, which I think is pretty good. And then, just for the sake of it, I'm going to scale the head bone. And that's just really so I can grab it later if I want to man anything. So this is the correct point to put the head joint, but you can see that the default position, the biped head places it rather high. So you want to get your head joint back here and make that leave your chin of your actual biped bone kind of high and weird, but kind of don't care because it's going to deform the right way. So that's all our bones pretty much placed. Just a final inspection, and I'll stop the video there. So we've got ankle joints, just running through all the joints and checking. Spine kind of slightly down the back of the body, but not too much. Shoulders in the centre of volume, neck at the base of the skull, and at the top of the rib cage. That looks all good to me.